Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. Ansony Sieh, your host. The Hour of Politics. The network again is Focus on Liberia, and we are always broadcasting from our headquarters in Atlanta. Today's discussion is going to be succinct. We have three major issues to discuss. To discuss these three major issues, I have a guest. He is seated. He took some time and looked into the issues. And he's here to give his perspective, something that will give you a much deeper understanding on the three issues. So before I welcome my guest, let me bring to you the three issues we will be discussing. Issue number one, the Alexander Cummings trial. We will talk about it. Issue number two, U.S. Ambassador to Liberia latest statement. Many of you might have heard what would J.J. Roberts say. Well, what's about what would Kinsa Boso say? What's about what will D12 say? Or what will the legendary Joad Nimlen from our hometown of Southtown say? Well, James got some thoughts. He got some perspective. He will be answering some questions. And finally, the juicy one. Justice Ministry released about Henry and Pedro Costa's Root FM. James is a guy who read the law. He's a student of the law. He took some time to read about, somebody may say legalistic issues. But hey, he's here. And he got a very strong statement on this release, the way it was written. Wait for that. He will tell you. He will not hide it. At this time, I will welcome my guests, Mr. James and Jason. Mr. Jason, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Anthony, we want to say thank you so much for inviting us on your popular talk show. And we think you all are fighting for a society to be better. Liberia must be better, and I think the way to go about it is for those of you who are knowledgeable to get involved in providing basic information. Information is power. And so I want to say I appreciate you and your platform for job well done. We think you are doing well. And we also want to say Liberians will have to be prepared to accept information. It is only being informed that society can be better. So I'm glad to be here, and the issues, I hope I will add meaning to the debate.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Folks, a little about our guest. James and Jason is the founder, and he is the CEO and also a host at the African Action Network, which is also 2A Radio TV. He is headquarters in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, where he broadcasts and contributing to the national discussion, trying to find answers to the many problems and issues confronting Liberia. James, again, welcome to the Hour of Politics.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
All right, James. Before we start the discussion, how you doing? How's family?
I'm good. I'm blessed by His grace. Every day you wake up and you listen to news. Some of us who like to be close to the radio, you just appreciate, how God is guiding you and blessing you. Especially so, my heart is up to Ukraine. I pay a lot of attention to what is going on in Ukraine, and even though it's not part of your issues here, but I hate to see people dying unnecessarily, because of someone's, leadership, somebody's wrong decision. A lot of persons have died just in the space of 1 month, and people are still dying. So yeah, you wake up in the morning, you just appreciate God, and when you start hearing about, chemical weapons, you read about chemical weapon, you got to realize that somebody's decision can just destroy the entire world. So we all had to pay attention to these events. The question as to how I'm doing, I'm glad to be alive. And every day I wake up and I have breath, I just appreciate God. So indeed, I'm good. And yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Brother James. We are happy that you are doing good. And, to your point about what's happening in Ukraine, and whether we here as a network, have been paying attention. We had a show here specifically on the issues in Ukraine, but more so we have always discussed conflicts in Africa, talking about Nigeria, and we got a terrorist group, the Boko Haram, terrorizing the people. We talk about Mali, we talk about Burkina Faso, we talk about Guinea. We have a program yet actually set aside for African issues. All right. That program is called Roundtable Africa. So Focus on Liberia covers it all. We even have a global affairs analyst so that when the global issues, like the one in Ukraine, we talk about these issues. And I'm glad that you are equally concerned that human beings are being forced to be uprooted from their peaceful homes because somebody want to show their might and power, and that is so sad. And given where we coming from as a people, Liberians, right? So I can see how you can relate to that, and many people do too. Hey, folks, do us a favor here. Share the show with your contacts. The issues are serious. In Liberia, we need leadership. Leadership is key. My friend Dennis will tell me leadership is like a death and life situation, or a life and death situation. If you get it right, life will be better. When you get it wrong, life will be difficult. And it's obvious life is difficult. It has always been, right? So we want to get it right. The people of Rwanda, we are told, got it right. I don't know. The people of Ghana got it right. I'm told. The people of America has gotten it right. Maybe they didn't get it right with Trump, or maybe I shouldn't go there. But the point is, you have a much better leadership, whether at the level of your nation, at the level of an organization, things are better for those involved. So let's talk about this. Our first issue here is Alexander Benedict Cummings. And the reason I have to get the prelude is he's running to be president of the Republic of Liberia. James, you follow this whole Cummings case, starting from framework, alteration, accusation. What has been your perspective since this whole court thing started?
That's very good. And as you started the subject matter, or the first issue on this platform, normally as someone who been in law school, I learned that understanding the facts of every case can help you to ask the right question. And when you ask the right question, you'll be able to have a better analysis. And then from those analyses, you can make better recommendations or reach a good conclusion. Alexander Cummings, as you said it right, he's one of those persons who is vying to take on the leadership of Liberia. And leadership, as you've said, is very important for an undeveloped country like Liberia. Until we can get a better leadership in Liberia, we all going to die and leave behind a country that will not be right. So Liberians should be fighting for a good leadership. So we all might be struggling to, discuss what kind of leadership we need in Liberia. But for Alexander Cummings and his trial, I feel politics should not be used in adjudicating cases. Politics should not be used, in ensuring justice.
Is that why you see that politics is being used?
That's why I my observation is that the judge lately, Joma Jala is a good friend of mine. We all went to school together. We studied law. He's a very smart fellow. But lately, especially the last decision where Cummings, we understood from media report that he was asked to submit his passport. And there was come in to say people were getting involved to use politics in ensuring justice. But let me just give you some low feeling as to the Alexander Cummings case. There's an allegation that Alexander Cummings did tamper with a framework document, and that framework document was filed with the National Elections Commission. And it is that document for which Alexander Cummings was sued at the magisterial court. As a lawyer, I know very well that there's something we consider to be best evidence. That means if you said a framework document is a document in issue, that document was filed with the National Election Commission. If I was Alexander Cummings' lawyer, I would have first moved for that matter to be discussed, to be dismissed, because the most appropriate
James, before you continue, the allegations were that the document was altered and that signatures were forged, right? You read there was an investigative report. If you read the report, what is your take from the report you read and all other documents and the various versions of the framework document? Do you believe there were changes made? Do you believe there were alterations made? If yes, who made these alterations, if any?
Let me say that I'm not opposed to the trial. And I'm not here to say that Alexander Cummings was right or was wrong. But what I'm saying here is that it is good that our justice system or our legal system be.
Oh, James, I want you to give me your take first. Whether or not
I will come to that. I will come to that. And I think let me set the basis for my opinion. Alexander Cummings has been accused of altering a framework document. An allegation must be proven. He who alleges has the obligation to prove his allegation. But what am I saying in short is that the framework document was filed with the National Election Commission. It is that framework document that the CPP contested an election. So then the document is with the National Election Commission. You contested an election on this framework document. Now, did you realize that after the first election was conducted, that there was some, fraudulent activity that took place or committed by one of your kind? If that was the situation, which forum, we asked the question, which forum was most appropriate to investigate this matter? Should it have been the National Elections Commission or the magisterial court? And what is the issue? If a framework document was tampered with, allegedly, this document is being filed with the National Election Commission. The National Election Commission is a constitutional charge. It is the only body that, not one of three bodies that should have independent jurisdiction to conduct our own affairs. So those who believe that the document was tampered with should have filed the.
And James, what do you believe is my question. What do you believe?
What do I believe is what I'm coming about.
Or not?
What I believe is that we all should wish for an independent investigation to know the matter, the truthfulness of the matter, whether Cummings did alter the document or not. My opinion
there was one done by the CPP. Yeah. Do you read the report or not? Did you read the report or not?
The report from the committee set up by the CPP?
Yes.
Now, this is what I'm coming about. The report gathered by the CPP, in my view, I don't even want to dwell on it because
Why
there's an
not?
allegation. Those documents are not the best evidence for discussion. So I will not take those documents to be to base my information on, to base my understanding or my view on. The best document that even the court should be asking for.
Are you saying you don't find the report done by the CPP committee credible?
No, it cannot be a credible information, and the court cannot rely on that document, the report, to run her decision. The only document
you want a court to use the CPP document as a basis for investigation, but not the CPP investigative report that came from the very CPP.
You are not getting me. As far as the allegation is concerned, there is not one of those documents. The committee set up, the committee report, the CPP set up a committee, the CPP has a report. Those documents are not the best evidence to prove whether Alexander Cummings did commit a fraudulent act by altering the document. What is the best document, and for which I want you to know? The document that was filed, when you file a piece of document, it is dated. You file it with a court, it's dated, it's stamped, and that's the only document that the court should use to determine whether this document was fraudulent or not. And where is the document? The document then is not with the CPP or neither Alexander Cummings. The document that is on file that you and I, journalists, should rely on is a document. If I'm in a case right now, I will want to get a copy of that document for the National Election Commission. It is that document that each one should be able to determine whether indeed Alexander Cummings was fraudulently altered that document that was filed or not. An investigation.
It was that document, James. Hold on, James. It was that document that the CPP investigative team looked at and compare with the other versions and determine that there were changes made. And so I bring back my question. If you read the investigative report and if you read the different versions of the CPP framework document, do you believe there was any alterations made? And also, do you believe there was any signatures forged?
You see, when you ask the question, I think we just drag ourselves into the matter, and if you just listen to my view, and that's my position on this matter, that...
So you cannot say yes and you cannot say no.
No, I'm telling you that we all should give justice a chance. The court should have the right. If the court is very independent, the findings of the court is what I will respect.
So you have no respect for the investigative report?
No, the investigative report, no. I will not dwell an opinion on the investigative report.
Okay.
As a lawyer, the document that I would think is the best evidence that the court should be asking for is that document that was filed, the date it was filed, the time it was filed. That document that is with the National Election Commission is a document that the court should rely on, not an investigative report.
Thank you, James.
Those reports will be for the administrative purposes of those political parties that enter into collaboration. It is for that.
Let us come to the court case now. Let us come to the court case now. Now the matter is in court. Earlier, you said that politics should not be used when adjudicating any matter that borders on legality.
Definitely.
My question is, do you see politics being used here in adjudicating this matter in the court?
Yes.
What is the politics that you see?
We have gotten information that Alexander Cummings should have traveled to see his grandmother or his mother to America or what have you. Prior to that, Alexander Cummings was told not to leave the country. The magisterial court did request Alexander Cummings to present his passport so that they could determine whether he had a visa in his passport to travel. Now, those were pure immigration issues. Those were pure immigration issues. The magisterial court has no jurisdiction as to the immigration laws of the Republic of Liberia. The Minister of Justice, the Attorney General of Liberia, has the right and he controls the immigration department of Liberia. All immigration officers at the port of entry determine who is fraudulent or who is entering the country on the false note, be it passport, be it or whatever traveling document, let's say passe, what have you. So assuming that Alexander Cummings, whether he had a visa or not, or he's a U.S. citizen or not, or for whatever purpose the court requested for his passport, the court, that way we determine on what basis did the court request Alexander Cummings to submit his passport.
James, good point there, but let's do this. Let us first of all talk about the idea of first granting him permission to travel and then halting it. And then there was a back and forth, and finally it got approved.
Right.
There was some legal, I don't know, I can use the word tactics that went on there. You study law. Talk to me. The idea that it was earlier granted, and then I believe Serena Seaford kind of counter that, and they like pull it back. And then is that something that is, you know, legal? I mean, is this part of the legal practice? Somebody might think nothing wrong with that.
This is it. Alexander Cummings was being accused of a criminal. There was a criminal action filed against Alexander Cummings.
Okay.
Someone would say Alexander Cummings should have left the bailiwick of Liberia since he was undergoing trial. But in the practice of law, Alexander Cummings, the crime of fraud, Alexander Cummings filed a bond. The sufficiency of the bond was for the purpose of allowing Alexander Cummings to appear in court whenever the court needed him. And the right of Alexander Cummings to travel outside of and come back in is a right, is a constitutional right accrued to every Liberian. Freedom of movement.
Based on what? Based on the case that is he's based on the case, right? That right is being restricted.
No, you cannot. You cannot. Alexander Cummings' right of freedom of movement should not have been restricted by the court. Why am I saying that? The singular reason why a bond is filed in a court is to assure the court that whenever you need me, I'm going to be there. The surety of the court, the surety of the bond, if it was insufficient, to say, okay, the man will leave Liberia and he will not come back. All of those things are calculated in ensuring that you secure a bond so that you will not trample on the man's constitutional right. So I don't know Alexander Cummings to say, I'm not defending him here. But in the face of trial, when you request for a bond, the sufficiency of the bond so that you can say, okay, then we can fly, he can leave from this country. But let's face it, let's go to common sense.
But James, if at all his rights to travel were not restricted, why will his lawyers make a request before he can travel? This is an established fact. We have some legal scholars here. When you are in a case like this one, your rights are restricted.
Okay, I'm not saying they did not restrict him. All I'm saying, they should not have restricted his movement. Why? Because you have getting Alexander Cummings in a courtroom. And not only that, you also asked for him to file a bond. And that bond was filed. From my understanding, there is an insurance company that, stood for him. And the reason why you Anthony, you can go, let's assume Jensen is carried to the court and I know you and I know that you have sufficient money or you have sufficient property. I can ask the court, look, or the court will ask me, if I put me on the bench, you say, Jensen, you had to file a bond before you leave from here. And that bond that I gave, if I say, okay, listen, maybe I'll call you, Anthony, please, man, I need a bond. I need a $500,000 bond. The court, says my bond is $500,000, and I know you are sufficient enough to file this bond for me. When you get in a courtroom and you sign all the necessary documents to tell the court, okay, I'm signing for Jensen. Whenever you need him, I can assure you, is a way of assuring the court that anytime you need Alexander Cummings, he will be here. So when the court agrees to that bond, Alexander Cummings then was free to move in and out of Liberia. Was Alexander Cummings running away? Was there any reason for the court to think that Alexander Cummings would have left Liberia and would not have come to Liberia? Let us assume that Alexander Cummings would have run away. The sufficiency of the bond, let us assume that you had the insurance company that stood for Alexander Cummings. The court take the bond. If the property value or whatever the case is, the charges of fraud has its own penalty. If Alexander Cummings should have gone to jail or he should have paid a certain amount as a result of that, the court knows exactly what action to take. But for the court to now leave the bond and start discussing, passport issues and all of those stuff, that way we get to know that indeed James, these people are bringing politics into the discussion and not just issues of legality. And there should have been no reason why they stopped Alexander Cummings in the first place. Alexander Cummings.
This is a criminal case. In criminal cases, one's movement can be restricted, and that is the case with Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings' lawyers know that. That is why they even request the permission for him to travel. After the back and forth, it was granted. Mr. Cummings knows this. His lawyers knows it. The lawyers know it. That's why they apply, and that is why Mr. Cummings abide by that. And then he was able to travel. And I just want you to know that is it. I don't think.
I also want you to note the singular reason why bonds are filed is to allow the man's freedom. This is not
the bond from what I understand, James, is to guarantee that on every court day he will appear. Is that not it?
That's not the singular reason for why the bond is filed.
Okay, then let's come to the issue of the
making appear and also to not to infringe on his right. So are you telling me now that the bond that was filed, what would have been the purpose only for Alexander Cummings to go to court and not to come and not to move even from Monrovia? If you want to go to Grand Jide, you must go to the court and ask for permission before you go to Grand Jide? Is that what I'm understanding from
this? Based on the case, the fact is Mr. Cummings cannot travel a certain distance without seeking permission from the court.
What is the law that says that? There's nothing wrong administratively. There's nothing wrong with even asking.
What I know is Mr. Cummings were not restricted. He and his lawyers would not ask for permission from the court before he could travel.
The modus operandi of the current court. Joma Jala is aware that the bond that was filed, the sufficiency of the bond was a way for the court to have reliance. So you cannot not be telling Alexander Cummings wherever he goes. You want to know, the court want to know where he is. The bond is filed. They have signatories of those who, attested to the bond.
James, this is a criminal case. I don't want to go back and forth on this.
I know for
this
sure
is an
this is a criminal case. The criminal case, that is the only reason why you file a bond. All right? So that the court can be assured.
Let's talk about the passport issue. Let's talk about the passport issue, James. You said the attempt, I don't know if that actually happened, the attempt by Judge Joma Jala, according to you, to have requested Mr. Cummings' passport. You said he was in error to have done so, and you smell some politics there. So tell me, how was that run? And two, what is the politics you see in there?
There are agencies of government or ministries and agencies of government that have responsibility attached to them, statutory responsibility. And when it comes to immigration matters, alien and nationality laws take care of those matters. So if it has to do with travel, strongly, and we sitting in America and reading these reports that come out of Liberia, to have asked someone like Alexander Cummings, who is a Liberian, as far as information out is concerned, to submit his passport, the first question I asked myself, what was the singular purpose for which the court would have wanted to know that, to have requested for his passport?
And you don't see any good reason why?
There's no good reason. There's no good reason that Joma Jala will not tell anyone what was the main purpose of calling for his passport. Now, there is some hearsay about that he wanted to know whether Alexander Cummings had a visa in his passport to prove whether he was living in Liberia. Now, when we hear all of these circumstances or pieces of information, some of which will be true, some of which will not be true, we ask ourselves, why in the first place Alexander Cummings' passport would be, why Alexander Cummings did not submit his passport to the court?
Maybe the judge wanted to know whether Cummings was telling the truth, that he was traveling outside of the country.
So it's not the judge's, that's not, if the judge, now this is what happens in administrative governance. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a responsibility. It's part of the executive branch of government. The immigration and nationality laws is governed by the Immigration Office. The boss there too is the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia. They control passport, travel, people going in and out of Liberia. That's their responsibility. Let us assume that Joma Jala wanted to be, you know, he thought it wise that, look, I want to be sure of what Alexander Cummings saying is true. He's going to visit his grandmother. I want to know. The best that he could have done was to call the Attorney General, which, even in my view, you can be conducting justice and be dealing with people in this kind of a manner. But for purposes of just administrative reasoning, he would have called the Justice Minister. Okay, you know, I have this case before me, and I have Alexander Cummings. He had told the court that he's going to the States. He's going to visit his grandmother. What have you? The Justice Minister, I'm sure, would have told him that, Your Honor, no disrespect to you, this is a Liberian who has a right to move freely in and out of Liberia. The law permits him to do that. The Constitution says that. To be asking for his passport to get proof, I'm not sure the Justice Minister would agree with him.
So,
right?
James, let me put it this way. If you are in Cummings' case, or shoes, so to put it right, and you have nothing to hide, you know, you're in court, you are a Liberian, and someone asks you, you know, hey, can I see your passport? Do you have a visa? I have to make a decision here. Will you not show?
I will not. You know why? Because when you set a precedent like that,
somebody might think you're hiding something.
Let us assume I'm even hiding something. There's a proper forum for at which point I can submit my passport. But before a magisterial court, I will not submit my passport. If it is an immigration officer who probably, let us assume Joma Jala wanted me to do that. If I even at the court, an immigration officer calls me, I say, Jensen, you know what? We got to realize you have to go to the States. We have to see there are some information surrounding your travel. Or there's some information that, hey, you're not a Liberian, you are handling Liberian passport. I will be very curious, because I will know then that that's the proper forum for which I'm supposed to display the truthfulness of my nationality or the truthfulness of my travel. Better still, there is an immigration officer, or there are immigration officers at the port of entry in every area around Monrovia. So when I go to at the airport, I can't go in a plane without they seeing my passport. So what sense does it make for me to go to the court?
And James, talking about the politics you see in this, do you suspect that Joma Jala might have been acting on an instruction from some political actor?
The entire Cummings case, and I want to be on the record, the entire Cummings case is politically motivated, in my view. Politically motivated.
How is this case politically motivated?
Because
Mr. Cummings, hold on, James. Mr. Cummings and his team, the ANC, from my recollection, when the whole issue of accusation from Benin Nigeria came to the limelight, they were like, well, if you think we've done anything, there's no evidence, we did nothing, then take us to the court. So Benina Ure filed the case in this court, right? And the government, is doing what a government would do to accept the case and look into the matter. So what is political about that?
Okay, I say this to you, right? And you are a believer, but keep this step. The Cummings case, Cummings has been accused that there's a framework document that he has tampered with. If there's a framework document that's been tampered with, and this document has been filed with the National Election Commission, I hold the strongest view that Benina Ure should have gone to the National Election Commission to file a complaint with the National Election Commission and not to the Magisterial Court. To say the
does he not have the right to decide where he
has a right? He has a right. He has a right. Don't get me wrong. He has a right to go to any. He would have even gone to the criminal court. He could have even gone to the Supreme Court to file his case there. But if he went to the Supreme Court to file a case there, would that make him right? No. All I'm telling you,
then you shouldn't have problem with the fact that he went to a magistrate court to file a criminal case.
Listen to me. I'm having problem when people deliberately decides to take certain action, and sometimes you can steer from where you said and make a determination. But these people are wasting their court time. They are wasting their time. They are doing politics. All right. So let me give you the clear explanation as to where Benina Ure should have gone. There is this framework document that's been filed with the National Election Commission. The National Election Commission is fully responsible to investigate a matter, assuming that Benina Ure went before them and say, hey, the document we filed here will have been misled. The document is fraudulent. Not the magisterial court, the hearing officers at the National Elections Commission would have gone into the matter and would have established whether Cummings is liable or the
maybe Ure does not trust the National Election Commission because it's a very
why not? They participated in the election. They have participated on the very document. They went to election and they won some seats.
I don't think the National Election Commission adjudicates criminal cases.
No, it's not a criminal case. The first thing, now, I agree with you. It's not a criminal case, but this is where people need to understand at what point in time do you carry a criminal case? Let us assume that they went before the National Election Commission. A election commission established that indeed the document has been tampered with. That formed the basis for them to go for a criminal trial. But as it stands, the document in question is with the National Election Commission, and that's the only best document, the best evidence that the court needs to verify whether or not there was a fraudulent document.
All right, James.
So if you don't get this document and you want to be seeking other sources of information for a criminal trial, if I was representing Alexander Cummings, the very first thing I would have done, I would have even filed a motion for that case to be dismissed at the level of the magisterial court. Because the magisterial court, where is the document? The magisterial court cannot compel the National Election Commission to be a party to this case, because the National Election Commission is an independent body that's answerable to the Supreme Court.
James, so we are where we are, and in this case, the case is stayed in court. I know there's back and forth about the prosecuting.
And the only reason why this case is dragging is because there's a missteps. And I would also think that in fact, Cummings lawyers themselves are also part of the problem. How? They probably took some other action. That's what I said initially. If I was in this case needed to be dismissed at the level of the magisterial court.
James, it's not that easy. This is a criminal case. If you ask,
listen to me, in a criminal case,
may I learn with my question, James? May I learn with my question? If you ask for the case to be dismissed that is already in court, I believe it will be left with the judgment of the judge in charge, or to see no merits in the case and dismiss it. But in the judgment of the judge, there are merits in this case or to proceed. Isn't that legal? Isn't that right?
It is the right of the judge to render a decision as he sees fit. It is also the right of a party, like in the case of Alexander Cummings. if, let's assume that they did file a motion at the initial stage of the trial to dismiss the matter, and the judge denied the motion, and the lawyer felt very strongly that they had a point, they would have taken the judge on summary, they would have gone to to the circuit court, and the matter would have been, they would have been told whether indeed the trial should continue or not.
So James, we have other issues to get to. Let me get your final take on it. Given the way the case is going, what do you see as the possible outcomes? What are the possibilities? In terms of
the possibility would be, and I can tell you from my observation, that this trial will either drag on, and it will either be dismissed by the judge in his final ruling. He may not just see merit in it, and he may just dismiss this matter on as he comes with his decision. But to say this matter is going to be where Cummings is going to be placed behind bar, I don't see the possibility in that manner. But Liberia being what it is, we all.
Why you think that is not possible?
As I said initially, these people,
because there's no evidence. Why
not, because the evidence that is strongly involved is not being requested, and that is my view. The document that even Cummings was asked to bring in court, you cannot compare Cummings, to bring evidence against himself. That's another issue. But the document, the best evidence that is in question is with the National Election Commission.
What they are asking for, right, is the framework document. Mr. Cummings and his team have said repeatedly.
Where is the framework document?
Let me learn. Mr. Cummings and his team and his party continue to say we did not change anything.
That's what I said.
If you did not change, and if they did not change anything, nothing has changed, nothing is altered, no signature forged. Why waste our time and not just give this document, since there's no evidence in there?
So let me ask you, even though, Anthony, you are not a lawyer, right?
I'm not a lawyer. That's why I'm asking questions that ordinary people
and that's why but you have a common sense. You have a common sense, right? Your common sense is if you and I enter an agreement, you sign and I sign, or probably let you say you didn't sign, but this document is being filed with NEC. This document that you and I agreed upon has been filed with NEC. And for some reason, you decided to go to court. Which document and where do you think we can get document from to prove that indeed you did not sign, but I did sign on your behalf and we filed with NEC?
You can decide to go to NEC. You can decide to use the one you have in your possession.
Now, in the eyes of the law, the best evidence is the one we filed with NEC. Because guess what? Is what was taken from us. NEC does not just take a document. They sign it, they date it, and whoever sign, those records are there.
Thank you.
If we took those documents to the court, the court make decisions on those things. If they took paper from you or they took it from me, those pieces of information, almost like hearsay, is not a document that is needed in the court to prove the matter. The document needed in the court to prove the matter is the document that is being filed with the National Election Commission. That is the best evidence that is needed by the magisterial court to prove the document. But not from what comes from Cummings, neither what comes from URE or came from the CPP.
Thank you, and thank you so much, folks in cyberspace. My guest is James and Jason, founder, CEO, and host of the African Action Network. That is 2A Radio. You can find him on Facebook and I believe also on YouTube. James, is that right? Are you on YouTube?
Yeah, so true. YouTube, Instagram, you can find us there, or you just Google, you're going to get us.
Thank you so much. And James read law in school. He's law student, and we are discussing a couple of issues. Yes, folks, we have another issue to discuss here. Issue number 2 is U.S. Ambassador to Liberia latest statement. And so, James, we both read this statement. The U.S. Ambassador McCarthy wrote an op-ed, something that is so much unusual for any diplomat to do, to melt themselves into what I consider the domestic politics of a nation in which it's been assigned. So he wrote the op-ed, trying to remember Joseph Jekin Rabo's birthday, and he had a lot of things to say about corruption. One of the things that came out that got everybody talking was the fact that he mentioned Liberia's city mayor, Jefferson Koji, by name. And Koji did respond. Let me ask you my first question on this issue. Was the diplomat in violation of diplomatic practices by writing an op-ed and mentioning government officials by name?
The first thing is I disagree with you, and I think as a media person,
ask a question. You don't have to disagree.
No, you make an analysis.
You disagree with the question.
No,
you disagree with
you make an analysis before you ask me a question, right? Okay, your analysis is that the diplomat, went against his diplomatic norms. He took action. He melted. That's the word. He melted into the domestic politics of Liberia. That's what you said before you ask a question. So what I'm telling you, I differ with you. When you make such an analysis, you are telling us that you understand the diplomatic mission of the U.S. ambassador accredited to Liberia. And I'm not sure from the way you have spoken that indeed you understand the diplomatic role of the U.S. ambassador.
James, can you face me? I see that you're looking on the side. Look at me strictly.
No, sorry. I mean, I have my view. I have my camera. My camera. If you watch two video, we have that situation here.
Oh, I have a very big like that. You're doing interview. You're looking at.
Do you want to be looking in my eyes, or you want to hear me?
All right. Do what is comfortable for you. Because the people watching you, you're not looking at them. You're looking somewhere else.
And I think my voice matter. I have my camera is stationed in a way that if I fix it right now, you see me, I'm fixing it. If I face the camera like this, I wouldn't be looking at your face directly. Likewise,
do what is fine with you.
Okay. Go ahead. So the issue here is that the diplomat accredited to Liberia, the ambassador McCarthy, has a responsibility, not just as ambassador to Liberia, but as someone who is head of mission, meaning they have all of the United States agency, all of their projects. He almost like the president of the United States sitting, in Liberia. He represents the American government in Liberia. So he is to ensure an effective way of communication between the embassy and all of the U.S. agencies within the country. Also bear in mind that the ambassador is not someone who is a new person that has been accredited to Liberia. So another correction I wanted to make, he did not call Koji by name in his ad. He did mention that Liberia official has requested for a foreign, officials to make some contribution towards the cleaning of the city. And he felt in his opinion that indeed it is not.
And who was that official? Or who is that official?
We know it's Koji that manages the cleaning up of the city. So I'm talking about being very exact on his name, right? That's what I just thought to make.
And you think he have to be that exact? If he made reference to him, he's calling his name, right?
He's not calling his name. He's making mention of him. He's not calling his name. He's talking about the entity responsible to clean the city. All right. Let's go
straight to the issue. In that statement,
he's quoting an official of the Liberian government.
And who is that official?
Do you want us to go into these little issues?
Because you are saying he didn't call him by name. I'm saying he called him out.
No, that's grammar, right? If you say, okay, you know why he called Koji by name, anybody at the Morale City Corporation who have responded to the ambassador on the issues you raised when it comes to cleaning the city. More so, the government of Liberia would have responded to the ambassador's statement if the government felt that the ambassador was melting into the domestic politics of Liberia. So if the ambassador spoke and said, well, the government of Liberia should not be asking for money to clean the city, governmental-wise, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should deal with the ambassador. Not
so why Koji? So Koji did respond, James. Do you have problem with Mr. Koji responding to the ambassador, the issues that the ambassador raised? Koji addressed them in his response. Do you have issue with that?
Definitely. Koji did not only respond to the ambassador's comment, but his utterances, were more, so to speak, abusive, and that was a flagrant.
I disagree. Koji was not abusive. Tell me what he said that was abusive.
They didn't listen to the interview that Koji had with the media. I
listened to everything. So tell me why he said that was abusive.
Okay. Koji said he was responding and he was placing the nail in the bee, right? If is
that an insult? No, that thing, what people say, to nip it in the butt, is to correct. When somebody says, let nip it in the butt, let put that in the proper perspective. Let correct it. That's why that phrase.
But get this right. Can you be addressing, let me put it this way. Can Koji be addressing George Weah? Let us assume George Weah says something, and you said George Weah's statement, I nip it in the butt. Is that not an abusive?
There's nothing abusive. There's nothing abusive about somebody saying, let us pull it in the right place. Let us correct it. Let us set the record straight.
Okay. So what is wrong if you have said no?
Us.
Okay, listen.
That's what it means.
Listen. If you said, let us set the record straight, there's a difference to say, let's set the record straight, than saying, I will nip this in the bud.
So what's your interpretation as?
The interpretation is the usage of the phrase nip it in the bud is a total disregard, total disrespect, and as an ambassador accredited to Liberia, respecting the United States government on that note, you cannot be speaking now. You and I know how we learn even in our elementary schools. How do you approach somebody? Some people say, well, you know what, I will bow when I'm speaking to the judge. Somebody will say, no, I will walk and put my hand in my pocket to walk to the judge. Somebody will say, you know what, I can talk the way I feel like talking. Nobody's going to restrict me from talking. When you say before your senior and say, hey, this matter, I'm going to nip it in the bud, and no matter whatever the situation is,
You think the ambassador is a senior to Jefferson Koji, looking at their respective positions?
The ambassador is not just a senior. The ambassador represents the American government, represents the American president. So Koji and the ambassador are not on the same level. They cannot be on the same level. The Minister of Foreign Affairs is a senior official that has a superior position than Koji.
So when we are talking about the city of Monrovia, any issues that concern the issue of Monrovia,
right?
Jefferson Koji is a senior official. I disagree with the guy, and let me say this so you might not.
I like the way you asking the question, right?
He Jefferson Koji is not qualified for the job. But he is the head of the city. He is the head of the city government. So when we are talking about Monrovia as a city, Jefferson Koji is a most senior government official compared to the ambassador.
I differ with you seriously, and I disagree with you. And I think you need to understand the structure of government. All right, the structure of government is you have all of the counties in Liberia have cities and have city mayors. So there's no big difference between Jefferson Koji, except that he is the city mayor for the city of Mossorado County, right? But the structure of government, the Liberian government has diplomatic missions accredited to that capital. Those diplomatic missions are people who represent their countries. They represent their presidents. So if you're telling me that Jefferson Koji is more superior than the ambassador, I'm sorry, and I differ, not just differ with you, but I feel like there is certain steps you are missing yourself. Because Jefferson Koji cannot.
When we are talking about Monrovia, and you have to understand me, I'm telling you,
we are talking about Monrovia, we are also talking about the structure of government. The structure of government, the foreign minister of Liberia, no, just a minute. The foreign minister of Liberia is a position higher than the city mayor.
James, you are going into something else that I'm not asking my question on. We are talking about Monrovia as a city in which the ambassador of America to Liberia opens his mouth and calls out Jefferson Koji. And I'm telling you, when we are talking about Monrovia, is the ambassador greater in terms of rank than Jefferson Koji? And please answer my question.
And I think you have to understand that the diplomatic enclaves, where the embassy sits, that piece of land represents America. That piece of land, that embassy domain, the Liberian government has no jurisdiction of that piece of land that is being occupied.
You're not answering my question.
I'm answering your question, except that we are not agreeing on the same
it's your right now to answer my question.
No, you have to first of all.
I'm not telling you about diplomatic eclipse. And let me tell you this: that very diplomatic eclipse you're talking about is within the territory of Liberia. It's within the city of Monrovia, right? So Jefferson Koji is the senior government official for the city of Monrovia. And I'm asking you, when we are talking about the city of Monrovia, the ambassador and Jefferson Koji, who is the most senior government official? Answer my question.
The ambassador is not an official of the Liberian government. The ambassador is not an official of the Liberian government. You should get this clear. So when the ambassador is not an official of the Liberian government, and you want me to sit in this place and compare the ambassador and just Jefferson Koji, that would be a mistake. And I can sit on this forum. There are many persons listening to us. I cannot sit and say, well, I'm going to compare the ambassador and Jefferson Koji as who is more senior in the Liberian government. All I'm telling you, the ambassador represents Joe Biden in Liberia. He is not an official of the Liberian government. So, and if you wanted to compare the two positions, I'm only telling you that as an ambassador or the ambassador from this country to Liberia, he serves in the diplomatic way. And the only group that should be able to deal with him at the level of the president, at the level of the foreign ministry, these are the two persons or two group of people that should be dealing with the ambassador. The ambassador decided to make a comment on the running of the activities, on funding that is being spent in Liberia. He tells Liberians that, look, the taxpayers of the United States government are spending their money in the country. Now, for you to be asking diplomatic missions to be contributing towards funding, he, in the opinion, his view that this is not how Liberia's first president would have thought. J.J. Robert would have asked questions if he got in this place. Now, the issue is the city not dirty? Indeed, it is. You and I will criticize that. So somebody say he's melting in the Liberian affairs, domestic affairs. What is wrong when you say it's spending her money and the ambassador is sitting there as head of mission? And he's addressing a particular situation. He's just cautioning the government. Look, you need to do better to clean the city. The city issue is not just about coming and asking the United States government for money. We should not be contributing towards the cleaning of the city. There are bigger issues that we should be intervening.
So, James, may I come in here? And we all agree Jefferson Koji is not up to the task. Jefferson Koji has failed in cleaning the city, just as previous administration before Koji also failed. But that is not the point here. We are talking about this administration, so we can agree on that. The point is Jefferson Koji was being mentioned, was being referenced, that he is saying the reason the city is not clean is because they are not getting money as it was in the past. So they don't have sufficient money. Now, that is a poor excuse because it is the Liberian government responsibility.
So do you agree
it
with
is the city government. Let me learn, James. It is the city government responsibility. The city government should even engage citizens who are making these the trash, find a way, and that's how it is done in the United States, where you and myself live. I pay for my trash. They're not government paying for it, but the city has contracted the collection of solid waste to private companies, and the private companies are collecting it. In Liberia, it's different. People might not auto pay, the cities is not laid out. So this is an HO problem. But Jefferson is saying, look, previous government were getting money, so they have money to collect the trash. We're getting 5 million less than what others were getting, so we have a problem. He used the word, I don't want to use that word because I think it's even out of place. The point I'm making here is he had all right, the fact that he was being referenced to say what he wanted to say, and that is his right. And you are saying he has no right to say.
And I was only telling you that for purposes of good governance, for purposes of knowing the United States, the importance of the United States being, you know, a serious partner to Liberia, we believe that there should have been better approach. That I assume that I was in government and there was a cabinet meeting, I would have still urged the Liberian government to take a different approach than the way in which it was handled.
And you think the ambassador used a better approach too? So why he couldn't talk to the president? Why he couldn't talk to the foreign minister? Why he has to
the ambassador spoke on a particular occasion, the birthday of Joseph Jingin Robert. And he gave, like any other ambassador would do, and he wasn't the first person that ever spoke about, you know, Liberia's condition, right? So the ambassador spoke. So the birthday program that was held, to which the ambassador spoke, someone, I said, you tell me that the ambassador accredited to the Republic should not, you know, USAID and other U.S. projects. The ambassador, right now as we speak, the ambassador was in Maryland addressing some serious issues on that side. So I say, he tell me that the ambassador is not just ambassador sitting in Monrovia. So he addresses the issue. Now, if somebody felt offended, let's assume the government, because we would think that Jefferson Koji will not just, Jefferson Koji was appointed by the president, and he represents the president's view in, you know, conducting affairs of the city of Monrovia. So then, if the ambassador says something that Koji felt, you know, offended, or he felt that the ambassador was melting in the domestic politics of Liberia, don't you think the mouthpiece of Liberia would probably be the information minister, the foreign minister, or the president himself? I said, you tell me that just as you said, people think that the ambassador is at the lower end and Koji's position is higher. Maybe that's how Koji felt. Or, you know, I'm older than I'm the city mayor of this place.
I think Koji is saying that the ambassador did not understand him when he said that we are having financial constraint. And one of the reasons we having the financial constraint is the fact that what we were getting from donors that was helping in collecting the trash, we are not getting that anymore. That is his excuse. That is his reason for which they are not collecting the trash as they, you know, used to. I'm saying that is a poor excuse, but that's a poor excuse, as you like to say. That is also a legitimate point, right? And so he was saying,
no. Let's get our point. And I think, you know, Liberia has a lot of challenges. And I think George Weah himself, by this time, he knows that. And you can't be having problems in your house. You have money to take care of minor issues. And then you have bigger issues where you should be asking your friends to come and help you. But you leave those things. Are you telling me the Liberian government cannot manage the diet or cleaning of the city? Don't they have money?
And James, I agree with you. I said they have failed.
All right. So then, sometimes we speak this way, people feel like you're going against the government. No, Jefferson Koji is a fine young man, but sometimes, like on this matter, I don't support it. And I'm one person who feels that, in fact, George Weah should have taken some action against him.
What makes him fine? When you say fine, what do you mean?
He's a Liberian. He's one of those presidents who have an opportunity to showcase.
And that's what makes him fine.
There's no disrespect to anybody here. And the issue of being fine, he has an opportunity to perform. The Liberian president has a right to appoint whoever he thinks can perform certain tasks. So he has an ability as a Liberian. So I would think he's fine as far as human being is concerned. If Koji would have performed or showcased, if the city would have been clean by this time, don't you think we would have appreciated him? Yes, we could.
Yes, I still don't get your
so being fine is in respect of his ability as any other human being. Performing as regards that is another issue. So I'm not here to tell the man is an ugly man or he's this. He's fine. I mean, he's just one of the fine human beings who could better perform his duty.
All right, let's leave the fine thing. The
man ugly.
No, I'm not forcing you to say anything. I'm not forcing you to say anything. I'm just playing my role of asking the questions.
I agree. So, James, he's a fine gentleman. I think that he can just do better than what he's doing right now.
All right. So James finally agree. He's a fine gentleman. Fine that he's looking good. He can talk. He can eat. He's a government official.
No, he's not a good talker.
Oh, I think he talks. I mean,
no, he's not a good talker. Talking
it might not make sense. It might not make sense, but he's talking.
So that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So James, let us agree here, and I agree with you. It's just that you don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I know. Trust me. The way you're asking the question, listen. That's what
I'm getting to you here is James. He as a human being,
right,
has a right when he's been referenced to decide to speak, and that is what he did.
No, that's
and whether or not we all disagree with him,
I
want all of us to recognize. I want all of us to recognize whether you believe he was wrong to say something, it is his right to speak when he wants to speak. And I don't think the ambassador is even having a problem that he spoke.
No, these people are not going to tell you at what point in time they disagree with you. They are diplomats. But what I'm telling you, and we all should acknowledge this, is that when you are in government, there are protocols, there are manners in which people should behave. There are ways in which people should communicate. If you're serving as a staff, honor me as a director. The issues confronting the department, you cannot be the one to address those issues. You can say whatever you want to say to me as a head of department. And then the voice of the department will be the head of the department. Jefferson Koji and the ambassador, I will say today, tomorrow, and forever, that he's not on par. Not just Jefferson Koji, but anybody who is a city mayor of Monrovia cannot be occupying a position higher than the ambassador, accredited to a country. The ambassador is the ambassador for the Republic of Liberia, not just Monrovia. And Koji is only a city mayor of Monrovia. So even by that common sense, why do we think Koji is even higher than the ambassador? The ambassador is ambassador to Liberia, not Monrovia. Koji controls Monrovia as a city mayor. Why do we think Koji is higher than the ambassador?
Koji is higher than the ambassador when we are talking about Monrovia.
He's not higher than the ambassador.
When we're talking about Monrovia, the ambassador is higher than him?
We're talking about Monrovia. The ambassador is the ambassador to the Republic of Liberia, not to Monrovia. So by that standard, the ambassador is higher. You can't even compare he and Koji.
So you are using different standard. I'm using different standard. I'm talking about
standard. So it means that my standard is higher than your standard. Because if you think Monrovia is a republic,
no, your standard is not higher than my standard. Your standard is different. Mine is different. It is
no. On this matter, when you're discussing these issues, there is something that's outstanding, that is truth.
And right? The truth, if truth is that I'm talking about Monrovia. Do you agree I'm talking about Monrovia?
You are talking about Monrovia. The ambassador is not accredited to
we
Monrovia.
Are talking about Monrovia. If all the officials sit and we are talking about Monrovia, in Monrovia, Jefferson Koji is higher.
No.
When we are talking about Liberia, it's a different thing.
No. You did Marv, right? You have a subset and set, right? Monrovia is set.
I was terrible at math, so don't bring math. I will flunk.
Okay, Monrovia is a set of Liberia, a subset of Liberia. So you have this bubble that is the Republic of Liberia. The ambassador is like the eye on top of Monrovia, on top of Liberia rather, and then Monrovia is just a segment. It's just a set of.
In the military, they say position is greater than rank.
Say that again.
In the military, they say position is greater than rank.
Even you go that route, the position of the ambassador is greater than the position of Koji.
All right, James, I don't think you understand my point here. So let us go to the final issue here.
The Monrovia you speak about is not Liberia. The ambassador.
I'm not talking about Liberia, and you need to understand, James, that I am not talking about Liberia. You need to understand, James, that I am not talking about Liberia.
You need to understand that the ambassador is not accredited to Monrovia for Liberia. So the two positions we are comparing here, one is higher, one is talking about the entire republic, and you want us to limit our discussion to compare Koji and Monrovia, Koji and the ambassador. So bring out the reason why the ambassador should be compared to that of Monrovia. What could be the reason?
See where you go again. Compare the ambassador to Monrovia. We're not talking about that, James. Let me progress here. Let's come to our final issue here. Since you don't want to understand, I'm talking about Monrovia. Let's come to the final issue here. Issue number 3, Justice Ministry release about Henry Pedro Costa. James, you read the statement. When you read the statement and you processed it, what jumped out of you?
When I read the statement, the first thing that came to my mind is that the government should not be in the business to seize media equipment. The Constitution of Liberia gives a right to free speech, and that right, the government should protect, those rights of anyone who decides to ensure free speech. So to have, in the first place, seized the broadcast equipment of Costa was wrong. Now, to release those equipment make a lot of sense, but the statement itself, I was looking at the context of the rationale. Why did the Justice Ministry write a long press statement, emphasizing Costa's communication with the president, George Weah, and emphasizing George Weah giving olive branch to Costa, and for which reason Costa now is a free man to return to the country. Government has a bigger responsibility. When you prioritize the issues confronting Liberians, the way you set your tone, the way you conduct your activities, Liberians learn. There can be no rooster learn how to crow when they don't learn from the older roosters. So Costa, we all follow him. And for me in particular, I listen to almost all of those who are on these social media and I discussing matters, confronting Liberia in one way or the other. The Liberian government has a greater responsibility to protect everyone. If anyone is treading a path of division, of insult, of gross disrespect, the Justice Ministry is to ensure prosecution of people who have crossed the red line. Was there a court action against Costa? was that action, was there a rate issue on Costa? Whether why he's here or why he was in Liberia. If those issues are true, George Weah has said, or Costa has told us that he communicated with George Weah, or George Weah called him. They had a fine conversation. So then, with those resolution of whatever differences they have had, the Justice Ministry now is issuing a press statement to the effect. I would think in my mind, Costa is like any other Liberian. So is the Justice Ministry going to be issuing press statements with every other person that may have standing issue with the Liberian government? That would be a waste of taxpayers' money. That would be a waste of time. And I think the Justice Ministry should have major issues. There's a young girl who just got killed yesterday or day before yesterday. That girl issue is higher than what Costa issue is all about.
And
we need to know
that conclusion. How did you reach that conclusion?
I reached a conclusion because while the Constitution of Liberia, the primary reason for the existence of a government is to protect lives.
Okay.
So that primary reason should supersede any other issue. What Costa issue has to do with? What is the greater benefit of Costa and George Weah discussion that affect the lives of Liberians?
I saw a release from the police chief, signed by the police chief spokesperson of the police, Carter. And actually, I think there are 2 persons that died either yesterday or two persons that died, and they spoke to that. Okay.
So I was talking about the Attorney General's communication, right? So you see the differences. The constitutional issue of protecting lives, the Attorney General speaking on that issue, and you elect somebody, no disrespect to Carter. Carter is my friend. You come to him, Pat Carter, hey, police director, my man, go issue some kind of press release, man. 2 persons died, just going to issue the press release. The significance.
You think somebody told him to do so?
Definitely. I know for sure the police has heads, they are heads of the police department. I'm not sure Carter would have done that on his own volition, but I believe there was some discussion surrounding that. I have been sitting at the Press and Public Affairs Bureau of the National Legislature. I know how things happen. I know how media persons go about in writing press statement and what have you. But the emphasis here is death of a Liberian, the Attorney General. Even sometimes we say the president's voice on some of those matters will send signal. Why you think people keep being killed? Now, that's not an issue we're discussing here, right? But just in passing, why you think this killing continues? If George Weah would have had a press conference one of these days and said, look, this has come to the attention since our inception that people kill people unnecessarily. I'm issuing a statement to say this needs to stop. When George Weah says that, what do you think? Carter saying that and George Weah saying that, which gave weight to caution Liberia more? In my view, the president doing that or the Attorney General saying that would have given more weight rather than, okay, Costa, now, no disrespect to Costa. Costa himself, he has put himself in a very dangerous situation. I would say that, and I can advise him for free. Going to Liberia is not just in his own interest.
Because going to the merit of the press statement, right? I want us to talk about, the structure, the way the language, the way the worded it. When you're reading the press statement, or the press release, they call it. So it's a press release informing the nation about this matter that the government of Liberia have had with Costa. But then in a very press statement, the author of the press statement here is Seaman Serena Cephas, right? And he is quoting the press statement, and then at the same time, he is reporting the press statement. So I don't know if you really notice that, like, if I read the Ministry of Justice press statement issued today announces with immediate effect that in line with the President Orders Branch of Peace, all criminal charges, including but not limited to any of all the former criminal investigation against Mr. Costa, are hereby dropped. Mr. Costa is free like any other person. Then he said the release remanded. So it's like a journalist reporting about this particular release. But if you look at the release, it's been issued by the Ministry of Justice, written by the Serena for the Solicitor General, right? Mm-hmm. But when you look at the writing of it, it's like a journalist is writing. At some point, he's speaking on behalf of the Justice Ministry, and then at some point, he is reporting and quoting the very release within the release.
Yeah, sometimes I have been in a position where I did a lot of press releases, and most often I noted that, and not only that, there are some other errors in that release that I saw. All right, but what I'm saying is that sometimes, you know, the meat of the release should be our focus, and some of those things on the basis of you yourself, sometimes, you know, when you're rushing getting on the show, and sometimes you make some of these errors. Sometimes those errors are harmless, in my view. Okay. And I would think that those were some of the harmless situations. But what matters most to me on that really is that even dismissing the case, the Justice Ministry cannot just sit there and say, let us assume the case was before the court. That's not the procedure they have followed. Informing the public is just one issue, but I assume that they have a case before the court. They need to go beyond the press release. Maybe they might do that in a very formal way or informal way, the way to go about it. So what I would take from that is that the first thing is Serena Sieh, that I know, would not have been happy to write such a press release. All right? This is a guy who was robust and who will vehemently refuse to even grant Costa, you know, any olive branch in the manner and form we are reading. So I know that for sure. I've dealt with Serena's. I know him. I know how.
So James, these men, Sieh, Dean, they are working for President Weah.
Right.
And President Weah, according to their press release, you know, extended an olive branch. An olive branch is not a clemency. This was or has been a legal matter, right, that went to court. The court is involved.
Right.
There was just a conversation reportedly the president had with this man, right? And that conversation, which is not a clemency, that is not a pardon. This is just a conversation. I think a conversation with somebody that a president had with somebody constitute any legality other than, say, a pardon that is within our law or a clemency. And just on the basis of this conversation, the Justice Ministry is releasing a press statement that all charges against the man have been dropped. You read law in school. Talk to me about that.
The government, in fact, I would think the government apply a very serious approach in the issue of Costa. There's no disrespect to the president's own view on whatever conversation they have. But as you rightly said, it was an ordinary conversation between, just like George Weah and any other citizen. What is the significance of the Justice Ministry coming with such a high-profile consideration on conversation between the president and another lower-ended citizen? What was the significance? What does that prove? George Weah had a right to tell Costa, look, my man, we've been friends before I consider whatever it's like. If this matter is before court, the president's conversation, the president is part of the executive branch of government that is distinct from the judicial branch of government. The president cannot ask the court to, you know, drop a case in a formal manner. You know, I talked to Costa, so we dropped the case. The Justice Ministry.
James, hold on, get it right here. Here's the thing. If the president is to drop the case, I don't know if he can drop, but what I know is the president can issue a pardon, which become law, right? Or can issue a clemency.
right.
which become law. It is within his constitutional powers, right, to do so. But in this case, it's just a conversation.
I
and
agree.
in fact, in the press statement from the Justice Ministry, they did not say the president has issued clemency or a pardon, or the president has mandated. Even if the president is to mandate, it has to be on the legal basis. And I believe that legal basis will be a clemency or a pardon. This release is only saying olive branch of peace. That makes no sense legally for them to be dropping charges against this man, the manner in which they're proceeding, because this is a court case. Don't you think the Justice Ministry, and in any way the president is involved, they are acting illegally here?
And definitely that's what I would say. That would be interfering. Let us assume, because I don't have no fight, if there's a case against Costa in court. But we are hearing that indeed they have dropped a case. He who files a case before court has a procedural step to go and ensure the withdrawal of the case. Let us assume that indeed they had a case against Costa, and this case is before the court. The president cannot interfere in the matter. The president will instruct the Justice Minister, you know what, I have interest in this case. This young man has requested, or I just decided to pardon him, and so I'm going to do just that. So can you get involved and see how you can go through all of the legal proceedings to see how we can drop this case against this fellow? Had they done that? I don't know. Which
James,
court, if you ask me which court a matter against Costa was taken to, I don't know. I don't have those facts.
Yeah, James, so then, let me provide some information. Myself too, I do not know the exact court, but it is a fact that Costa equipment was seized on the order of one of the courts there. It might be one of the ministerial court or so. All right. So we have known all along that his equipment were in possession or in the custody of the court. So there has been a matter in court, right? And so you would think that the Justice Ministry can only drop these charges against him based on a presidential pardon or a presidential clemency.
No, this is not, as you said right there, this is not a pardon, neither a clemency. And I'm also, I know the issues concerning clemency. Clemency is not just getting up in the morning and say you grant clemency. There are procedural steps. Sometimes we see some of those things going differently in Liberia, and we say, well, people doing things differently. Like even the Samuka thing, which I don't want to bring forth in this, that's a different issue. Clemency, you have had sufficient discussion on those things. I heard some senior legal people coming on your platform and discussing this matter. So the president words to Costa was in no way an exercise of an executive clemency. So then the president's conversation was a mere conversation with one of Liberia's like citizen, Costa. So the concern we have here is why the Justice Ministry is issuing such major concern when there are issues that the Justice Ministry has not reported on. There are more bigger issues. Several persons have died in that country. There are pending reports, pending investigations. There's no report up to this time. And the government is prioritizing. What is the interest? Now, I don't want to go into the Costa thing. Costa, there are a lot of recording. Just a minute. When I heard those things, I do some background check, and maybe I'm going to roll some of these Costa's utterances. Costa would think that maybe even when I start to do that, you would think that I'm going against him. It's not about Costa as a person. It's about his involvement, the way he conducts himself. All right. If George, we are listening to some of those things, I would advise Costa, you have to be mindful. The olive branch, you have to be mindful. I read political science. I know what things can happen. But Costa has done more insult to George Weah. If that's the issue for which this matter being in the court, I don't know the facts. But just from what is outside from Costa's own utterances, the government approach is not a good foundation for any good Liberian to follow a better democratic path. So then we think the Justice Ministry herself, I'm sure they're doing some underground talk or what have you. If this matter has been before the court, we hope to hear the details of which court and what the judge has said. they had to file an application to the court withdrawing the matter. We hope to know when the application will be filed and how it will be done. Or they had to write a letter to the court
And James,
and withdraw the matter in whatever form and manner they wish to do.
And James, if you look at, let's go back to the statement again. Another thing they said is these charges against this man,
right,
they are all dropped.
Right. So meaning there are several charges.
And that he's a free man, he can move in and out of Liberia. There's a reason he was charged. They said he was involved into defamation.
Right.
And that he was spreading hate messages.
Mm-hmm.
And he was trying to pollute the democratic space. And he has violated his license. All right. And so those things were taken away from him. And now they have waived all these crimes that led to the seizure of his equipment. But then they are saying if he is to get his equipment, he has to follow all the processes and ensure that his broadcasting will be progressive. Man, that word, it got to be progressive, you know, for the progressive development of Liberia. So more like they are trying to tell you, look, my man, we are considering to give you your equipment, but if you will be talking the way you used to talk, we'll take them back from you.
You know,
my question here is there a game that they are playing here and this guy is not getting the picture?
Let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. And I read political science. I like to read the writings of Machiavelli, and if I read some of those things, I will talk tough. And when I decide to talk tough, people may think like, you know, you are witch hunting people, mm-hmm. or you are wishing somebody evil. Mm-hmm. But if I'm to advise Costa, I would think that, you know, I was listening to some of his recording, some of his talk show last night, and if I'm to play that and Joe Weir listens to that, he may want to withdraw his pardon. Or if Joe Weir's son, Tim Weir, listen to some of these recording, they may even want to differ with their father. If Joe Weir's wife listens to some of these conversations, they may want to get back. If Sedition want to listen to what Costa has been saying, they may want to even get angry. So when I listen to all of those things, I can best be in a position to advise the Costa man, you are treading the wrong path. It's a different thing to say something. It's a different thing. I'm not hearing you. It's a different thing to say something, and it's a different thing when politicians are planning other stuff. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do any harm to him, but it's better to caution people when you yourself, you know, you are throwing a lot of dirt out there on the president of the Republic of Liberia, and there's quote-unquote pardon. It may not be the president. It may be any of his agents. It may be any sedition who may be offended. Whatever happens, you must just hold yourself responsible.
But James, don't you think the government has a point here, right? Because in their statement, they talk about proficiency and not profanity, lies and vulgarity, right? And they talk about disinformation. They talk about inventives. So these are the things they said Costa had engaged in,
right,
that led to them, you know, shutting his station down. Don't you think they have a point here?
No,
we in the media should not be engaged in lies, vulgarity,
I agree that no media practitioner should get involved in lies, inventives, whatever. Blackmailing people, they should not be, you know, the criteria of broadcasting or writing information to, you know, inform the people. But there is a recourse. You cannot restrict the media in whatever form. If someone got involved in defamation, there's a recourse. If someone got involved in creating chaos as a result of broadcast or writing pieces of information in newspapers, there's a recourse. But as a government, you cannot come with a public statement to restrict freedom of speech freedom of speech is guaranteed in the Constitution of Liberia. So no government, not just the Georgia government, no government should restrict freedom of speech. So if Costa, for example, is involved in invectives or involved in defamation, there's a recourse. You can sue Costa, you can pursue the matter. But you can't be saying, oh, we pardon you. Then it appears to us now that you want to, okay, my man, some will pardon you. You come on the air now. Don't say anything against the government. Don't do this thing. Yeah. You know, it's an effort to say, you know what, 2013, 2023 is election. We need to get all our friends, everybody that can help us to win election. We need to get them on board. Even though we know on our sleeve, this man has hurt us so badly, but we know how to play our game. We're going to get everybody because we want to win 2023 election. That could be a strategy. I mean, I'm just using my own analysis of things. But how be it, the danger is, can we as government begin to restrict freedom of speech? I do not think that should be their route.
Okay.
In the same vein, we do not support any media pressing. We have the Press Union of Liberia. These people should be more robust too, you know, to checkmate some of these media institutions.
Thank you.
Costa has done more harm too. We must admit to that. You know, some of his offices.
How has he done any harm, James? Give us some examples.
Costa has been very, very, very inventive. He has been very, very insulting, and there is no if and end about it, as I told you. And maybe on my own show, I might maybe play some of those things, and that's to caution him. The best way to go about.
What are some words that he has used? What are
I can sit here and repeat some of those things. But Costa has insulted George Weah on numerous occasions. It's a fact. The evidence is out there.
You think Costa is a decent man?
If you say decent, it has to be in context. Now, I wouldn't want to say
when it comes to broadcasting, is he decent in his
no, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. And I don't think Costa has gone through the rudiments of learning how to communicate well. He has.
If you are in the government's position, will you allow a man who tread on lies or inventive, vulgarity, insult of leaders, and blackmailing and taking money from individuals and all that? Will you allow him on the air? Don't you think that such person would be dangerous to the democracy?
Let me say this. There's the information space. The first thing is, if I was in government, I would be guided by the Constitution of Liberia that grants free speech. But the Constitution also says, be fully aware of the abuse thereof. So I would be very cogent and be very considerate. However, if someone decides to breach the laws, the penal code of the Republic of Liberia, we go strictly on the evidence. Okay. And we could prosecute people on the basis of that. There will be no friendship in those things. It's not because I need vote. It's not because I want a talk show host to promote me. You know, when you live strictly in conformity with the laws, people respect you. It doesn't matter who you're dealing with. It's not about Costa, but if Costa has crossed the line, he's violating the basic rights of, you know, ensuring the kind of inventive that we hear from him. We don't think that's the way to go about embedding a better democracy. There are more Liberians who should be taught by we that play with the media, the social media, so to speak.
Thank you.
So we think Liberia can be better and we all can make it better. You can speak to George Weah on issues without even insulting him. Get the facts, deal with the facts, and point out the facts. And
that is what we have been doing here at Focus on Liberia.
And of course, I appreciate you guys for
we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll read comments from our viewers. We want to get their take on the issues that we've discussed. But before we take that break, I have a short question for you. Do you care about what Joseph Jenkins Roberts might be thinking now? Do you care about it?
Joseph Jenkins Roberts, the dead, the ambassador's statement was a caution to the executive branch of government, was a caution to the national legislature, was a caution.
I mean, a short answer. Do you care about what Joseph Roberts thinks now?
You know, I cared about Liberia being clean, Monrovia being clean. I cared about legislators ensuring that their votes, you know, is accounted for. I cared about the judicial branch taking into consideration the level of corruption and ensuring justice and fairness within the courts. And if these are the points that the ambassador emphasized, indeed, I care about Joseph Junior Rabo if he would have come to Liberia today and walk around Monrovia and saw the dirtiness of Monrovia and saw lawmakers just saying yeah, yeah, and not even knowing who has voted for whatever decision. I cared about them. I care about the issues that was raised by the ambassador, and I think the government of Liberia should be of more concern.
Thank you so very much. If you ask me, I don't care about what Joseph Rabo might be thinking now. I cared about people doing the right thing for our country. That's all I care about. I don't
So
care.
then I see a contradiction in your statement, because if you cared about the things that affect society, these were the very things that Joseph Junior Rabo being dead years back. It's just an emphasis that was laid.
We're going to take a short break. We're going to take a short break. You took your time, and I'm saying I don't care about what Joseph Rabo might be thinking.
But
right
you cared
now.
about the
We'll take a short break, and we'll be right back.
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education to politics, arts and culture, entertainment, agriculture, history, religion, family, and technology. Focus on Liberia uncovers and showcases the best of Liberia and shows the world the truth about Liberia. We educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. We conduct interviews, panel discussions, debates, and more. Tune in to Focus on Liberia on Facebook and YouTube and be a part of the stories that make up the news.
This is Focus on Liberia, and I am Dennis Jah.
Thank you. We are back. We'll read some comments, and Jane, pay attention. If you can take note, fine. You don't have to respond to all, but you can give a general response to some of the comments we will read. Tevin Co, a dear lawyer friend, writes, I don't care about what J.J. Rabo thinks. We care about how the country is being governed and the future of the young adults. And she's in agreement with me. Yeah, from Steve Waxing. What lines did Coast cross, Mr. James? Well, we will leave that. He has crossed nearly every line there is. Let's hear from Sankpade. I see, oh, brother, we do not insult people here. If you are not trained, do not bring that behavior here. This is not where you come and insult people. Shame on you for that. Florence Kinsley, James, you are on your own. To you, Sieh Costa does not do anything because of money. He is a patriotic person. He speaks about corruption in the regime, and you are on your own too. Whether Costa is being patriotic, insulting everybody you know. Is that why you call being a patriot to insult people? I don't remember the last time Petra go on a platform and insult people. Martin Luther King was a patriot. He was not insulting people. Gandhi was a patriot. He was not insulting people. Your own patriot is upside down. You got to think again. Baton Kula, Focus on Liberia. Ansony said, I think you guys are misusing the word blackmail. Has Costa arranged with some players to accept money in exchange for going easy on them? Yes. That's taking bribe, not blackmail. Dr. Kula, you say your own, and whatever you heard me say, that's my own. And that is the beauty of this discussion. Samuel Josiah, that is the game and the danger that awaits Costa. If he goes close to President Weah and the CDC and he's not paying attention to the concerns being raised by people, but instead he's getting angry with people, that guy is not disciplined. He's not trained. James Cole writes, but Costa has said it repeatedly that he is not a journalist, but a talk show host. Let's get that in our minds. So this guy is telling us talk show hosts should insult. Time. How can a person think? Nobody should insult in public space. It is not about being journalist or not. The right thing to do is to not insult. If you are in a business as disseminating information, anyway, let me not waste my time here. James will respond. Denigrating women on numerous occasions. Tevinako, thank you for talking about that. This Costa guy, when the Mo Ali issue came, what did he do? He said the little girl, the young woman, was a hopojo. This is the kind of guy we're talking about here. Krogstad might be taking a serious risk. An angry, ordinary sedition could harm him, and that is true. Waxing again, those that kill our children, fathers and mothers, can be forgiven. Why we can forgive that causing, maybe mental, why we cannot forgive causing our family, I don't know. It may not be properly written there, or I'm not reading it right. Tavina, again, I agree with the guest. He's walking on dangerous waters, landmines. We are watching. Of course, we watch. Mayfield, this guy calling himself Mayfield. I'm the Mayfielder here, man. You know how to play football? I'm happy that the brother is going to get back his equipment worth thousands of dollars, and I am sure we all should be. I am not happy about somebody who takes his airway and insult people and put out dangerous and ratting communication in the ears of young people. It's not about money here. Tavinako, and will he stop now giving the olive branch extended? Yeah, maybe he will stop insulting now. The government gets to decide how he does business. Let's hear from Brown here. What's MOJ has to do with inventives, vulgarity, and the like? I don't personally condone them, though, but see partial form of the press release. The release said the Ministry of Justice shall continue to exercise restraint and tolerance in dealing with the frank exchanges of views, ideas, and objective criticisms by Liberian citizens, but shall not compromise any egregious violation of the law by anyone, and has therefore indicated that it welcomes proficiency in developing news. I think the man new progressive. Okay, it's too long. So the year from Jala, God will open our eyes and bless us Liberians because the leadership is wickedly corrupt in Liberia. Yes, that is your take there. The year from Powerhouse here, I am not a Costa fanatic, but ANC will have Costa to contend with. Who is the ANC you see here? Let's hear from Saba. Saba, long time listening to both of you. Any ambassador accredited to a country under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations has the highest diplomatic rank as compared to Chasse Affairs. I think the mayor should have accepted the ambassador opinion and relate this to the foreign ministry for a mutual understanding in helping to resolve the cleaning process by justifying why the system is seen in that manner. If we look at that aspect with reference to the civil war that occurred in, yeah, I agree with you. My point that I've been making all along is whether or not he's right, the approach he has used, it is his right to speak as a citizen, and that's the only thing I want us to recognize. I disagree with him. I would not do that. Liberian men always know how to rule when they are not in power, and that is true with most Liberian men, and the CDC has proven that to us. They were yelling all in this place, and here they are. Ginny Jala Philip, yeah, that's what they keep saying, harmless errors. That person might be having issue with Jane saying harmless error. Powerhouse is none of your business if Costa has insulted the president. Worry over your ANC. Well, this person is making you and myself to be ANC. I think I need to join this ANC because people are putting me in there. But the ANC people can't stand my God. Even with pardon or clemency, there are laws, rules surrounding those in order to remain compliant. Then hear from Tavina again, clear interference and overextension of executive powers, she writes. Lawrence, again, Mr. Sieh, Mr. Costa was never charged with any crime. He was being investigated by the Liberian Immigration Authority. Thank you for that point there. Tavina again, clearing there were proceeding conversation prior to, maybe she's trying to say maybe there might have been some things discussed that we don't know. Mayfield Delco, the question is, were the charges filed against Henry Costa in the first place. Lots of comments that we cannot get to all of them. Let me see Mianta here. He's always criticizing Odin, and I love Mianta for that. Ansony, please stop, because our young children are listening to you and they are like sponges absorbing all information we us put out here is very important. When you keep pressing that which is wrong, they will believe you. So be careful when you ask a question on a legal person who you and we agree is more knowledgeable when it comes to the law. You ought to move on, man. Thank you. She's saying I should move on and I am in error. Let me see here, Jim, just a few more and then we will get your response. Mayor Jefferson Kojin cannot be higher than an ambassador. Never. Jefferson Koji's boss is the superintendent of Monserrado County. Only the foreign minister of state has the statue to the U.S. ambassador. This is how it is in foreign service.
That's good.
Koji is just limited to Monrovia, while on the other hand, the ambassador is for the entire country. See no argument in this, Ansony. James, a lot of comments there, about almost 300. We can read all. Just
okay.
Few
Okay, that's good. And I don't know whether I have the time just to play a little clip of Costa. Oh,
no,
just
James,
Costa issue. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know, sometimes people, like one of the reporters said, what matters most in the kind of a discussion is everybody seems to be wishing that Liberia get better. And it's not about morphing anybody, neither the Justice Ministry or the Costa. Like we have put it squarely, Costa is always involved in inventives, and that is no secret. The information are all out there. Costa himself knows that. And his consideration of smoking a peace pipe with George Weah, anyone can see like a cat and mouse game. And I say freely, with no fear or favor, if Costa is in the company of George Weah, he needs to watch his back because of some of the very words that you have put out there. Now, it's not about people wanting to protect you in this kind of a public forum. It's about people who are willing to tell you the truth. You know, so Costa will have to guide himself in those manners. But more so, yeah, some persons emphasize it, the issue of the city mayor, the position of the ambassador. We cannot compare the two of them. And I know you were just asking the question because that's your role. You are the host. You want us to discuss the matters, so you have to ask all of the critical questions so that we can be able to emphasize some of those points. So I don't think there's anything wrong with you, Anthony, asking those questions. All right. And the issue of talk show and journalism, those of you who did not go to school of mass communication, and some of us who went through the walls of the University of Liberia studying mass communication, we can tell some of you that indeed talk show is part of journalism. In this age and time, we know that there is a social media platform adding to cell phone, the age of communication where anybody can pick up the phone and behave and act like a journalist. So when you perform the role of a journalist, there are ethics that every journalist should follow. So if Costa is acting like a talk show host, we'd expect him to be guided by those ethical standards. If he doesn't, then of course, those who have studied the science of communication can sit where they are. They can see the errors. They can tell someone he's doing this, and so it's not about liking him or disliking him. It's about people who have set standards about certain things. They can see things and say, hey, this is wrong. And Costa, in his own reasoning, sometimes he knows that. All right. And nobody is here to bomb off anybody, but just saying, hey, some of his words, some of his communications are not right. You know that most of us, we are calling on the government every day. You have to do what is right. Your way in which you're governing is not just right. You have to conduct yourself well. but we say in a very civil manner. I know sometimes Joe doesn't like some of the things we say, but the goodness is democracy can flourish. Like somebody wrote, there are other people who following us. There are some young people who should never ever accept the wrong thing to be the right thing. It's not a good thing for somebody to get up and say, some of us who grew up, you know, some homes and what have you, your parent will tell you when you go out there, be careful what you say, how you keep communication. Sometimes your eyes can even insult somebody. The way you win your eye, you insult somebody. The way you talk, there could be like a simple word that had no, you know, abusive indication, but the way you express it, somebody's taken offense for that. West to talk about someone talking about the man is this. You know, I will listen to, I mean, we can play anything here, but I know we just caution our better Costa, that better approach. You know, those who are guiding you, when you get to be recognized as someone who is treading the wrong path, trust me, I listened to Costa this morning. He was like so angry and felt like he's fighting for people and they hate him and all of those stuff. Those who are cheering for you, they know what is right and what is wrong. When you join the CPP, people don't think that people, Alexander Cummings, like that aspect of you of insulting Josh Weir. They themselves will not want to be insulted. So when it comes to serious government, people are not going to take you serious. They're not going to bring you closer to them. Like you join this group, you leave, you go to this group, and all of those stuff. These are signs of not being stable, not being, you know, committed to individuals. If a Joe Weir call you now, you go in, Joe Weir not going to give you any serious position. He's not going to put you in his cabinet. Joe Weir will believe that some other day you can just back up and go another way. So what do you do, Costa? You can conduct yourself in a way. You can say, oh, Seth, you are a young man, you just graduated, that's something I like about you, you are outspoken and those kinds of stuff. But certain aspect of you is just wrong. You can't do that. If I was to ever talk to you, I think struggling in your face. There are some lifestyle that you have is just wrong. It's not going to help you. People would like you, but it would drop you because of what? Nobody's going to trust you. So these are points. And the issue of ANC, I'm not a member of ANC. I've never been in that meeting. I don't even know Alexander Cummings. You myself, and I sat down somewhere to keep conversation and what have you. We're following development, and some of us, we hope that Liberia can get better. All right. So it's not about discussing issues here. We're supporting ANC. If ANC does something right, trust me, I will blow that trumpet. If they do something that is not just, that is wrong, the Constitution should be our guide. The Constitution and the law should be the guide of everyone. You don't have to be a lawyer. But even the little you understand from it, you can do it on it and be truthful. And that's why we can caution everybody.
Thank you.
Take your laws as being the first thing that you can respect. Then the leaders, now you can help to guide the leaders how they can move about. When they do something wrong, you tell them. When they do something right, you clap for them. But now when somebody doing something wrong, you keep clapping for somebody when you know your conscience is telling you that something is wrong.
Thank you, James. You know, Davina says something here that for people to think that because somebody says they are not a journalist and they are a talk show host, so they should not be held to the standards of disseminating information. When you are disseminating information on any media platform, that is a practice of journalism. Whether or not you are not a journalist, you are practicing what journalists are supposed to do.
Right.
So there are standards that you should be able to abide by. There are ethics, there are rules that you need to follow. To choose to not follow those things, that means you should not be doing what you're doing in the first place. Talk show hosts are practicing journalism. Journalism is the dissemination of factual information, verified, all right? And that when you do so, you conduct yourself responsibly. You do not tread on insults that, as we see this gentleman does disgracefully, and he doesn't even have conscience enough to realize that what he's doing is not ethical. And we have people with chicken brains who celebrate him, who believe that he's fighting for Liberia. Sheer foolishness on the part of all these people who think that the way to fight for Liberia is to insult people. And these very people that support Costa looked them in the face. He said, we Liberians are stupid people. And yet they sit there and they call him hero. So here is your hero now, who is begging. He begging for a letter of invitation. I'm going to be your hero and go beg for, I mean, you're talking about your country. You say he begging for letter, George, I'm going to send you letter. After he called George, Sanama Swine, enter score, dumped. And then he crawled on his knee and asking him for letter of invitation before he can go to Liberia's independence celebration. After he said he does not need any permission from anybody to go to Liberia. Do you really think when you follow individuals, why don't you even use your own brains? Maybe your brains are chicken brains. And so you don't care. Well, someone commented here, Mampu Daxin said, the statement nip it in the butt is not to set the record straight. When your parent is telling you, come here, let us nip this in the butt, it has so many interpretations. It could mean that let's set the record straight, let's correct this, don't do this again, you are wrong. So many ways it can be interpreted.
But I think Ansony, yeah. we should be just discussing the meat of all of these topics. But honestly, you know, and I think I see that respect in your utterance most of the time. If I was speaking to George, I want to set the record straight, I will be more profound and say, hey, I disagree with the president and I'm going to set the record straight. Mm-hmm. If I said what Koji said to George Weah, what you said is not correct, so I'm going to A, B, C. And, you know, I wouldn't say that to anybody. I can disagree. I'm one person who disagree with anybody when I feel very strongly that you have, you know, a comment or statement that is not profound, that is not right. I can emphasize words, you know, profound and correct words that can give a signal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but just to
close, James. Just to close, we are out of time.
All right, that's true. We went. I mean, 2 hours, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, firstly, let me appreciate you for inviting me on your show. And I think comes the 2023 election, media institutions or talk show hosts or people who are involved in social media discussions should do more of these kinds of discussions, and then to be able to tailor. The media is a very powerful group, and you can help a society to get better. And we just ask all of those who are involved in disseminating information to know exactly what they're going to be doing. It's not about the interest of anyone. You and myself here, we know you're busy. When I came this morning, I just from work. That's true. Sometimes I wake up around 3, 4 o'clock. We want to come up with a show. You know, it's not just about wanting to be seen in this kind of on this kind of a public platforms, but the society is backward, and we need not to brag about it. We need not to think that it's not. There are some issues that happen. You can realize that even some of those who are in government positions, they need to be informed. All right. I listened to I'm not taking it back, but I listened to issue that was discussed in recent time in the Liberian Senate. And I see Darrell Dillon is emphasizing the issue. I see Senator Sherman is emphasizing the issue. So I said to my local, I said, wait a minute, are these people really understanding? And I felt very strongly that immigration laws control a lot of things, but people sometimes don't read. And they take this public comment, and that's one thing that is affecting Liberia today. There are a lot of public opinion, and people think those public opinions are facts, are truth. So until we all can get involved to set some of these records straight, the generation that's coming up, they're going to take these wrong decisions as being the right decision. And that society is going to feel miserably. We all going to leave the stage very soon, and society should be better. How is better? That's what you are doing. And so I want to appreciate you and your team for whatever you guys are doing. And I think you guys should continue on that. and call as many persons as possible. We all should do that, call people. And another crazy thing is, like Serena Sifa, I'm going to be very frank here. I invited Serena Sifa. You call these people to discuss this matter. They feel so big and proud to be even part of this discussion. It makes no sense. When in public position, it is the responsibility of the government to inform Liberians about the workings of government. So those who are in public offices, they should be in the vanguard of writing. Oh, I mean, Sieh, I have this issue. We should have. I think we need to discuss this matter, rather than thinking like, you know, I'm too big, man. I'm the Solicitor General. I shouldn't be talking about matter of fact laws issues. Don't put it up front. We all can research and we all can debate the matter. Once again, I say thank you. The issue of Alexander Cummings, I strongly hold that issue will be dragging maybe for a long time. Because what? The merit of the matter, I see that other Juma Jara will come out one day and say, no, he dismissed this matter. Whoever disagree with, you know, whatever, they might go to the Supreme, they might go upstairs. The circuit court may be necessary to the Supreme Court. Liberia is better. Justices should do what is most appropriate. Lawyers should do the same. The forum is good. We might get to know what the court is thinking about resolving this matter. But even what's the essence? The identical CPP, they are all going apart. So what is being protected in the courtroom? What has been protected? Let us assume now the framework document they all want to go to court for, they all have left. So why they wasting the Liberian people time? What is there? You know, empty. It's good that they went there, but personally for me, they missed the first step. And I even feel some of the lawyers of President Cummings, that's my opinion, they make some mistakes. They should have even dismissed that matter. That matter should have originated with the Election Commission. When the fight would have been established and would have been proven that Alexander Cummings indeed did violate or alter the document, that would have been the basis for a criminal trial. But you didn't. You missed the first step now. The document is of the National Election Commission. Who is responsible to verify that document? Is it the magisterial court? No, it's not the magisterial court. The document is not in the possession of the magisterial court. You have a right to go to court. You would have gone to any court. That's the right of any Liberian to do so. But with that said, we can also make our own analysis. What if they would have gone to the National Election Commission? By this time, they would have had a result. The hearing officer would have clearly established whether the document was falsified or was changed. And they would have told them that the ruling of the hearing officer, anybody disagreeing would have gone to the Board of Commissioners. And if the Board of Commissioners would have agreed with the hearing officer that indeed the document was forged, that set the basis for anybody to take that document and go to Alexander Cummings and go to the magisterial court or even the criminal court and file a lawsuit there. But as it is now, the magisterial court herself is struggling. She's a court of non-record. But yet and so she's struggling to see how they handle the matter. Can they call the National Election Commission there to go and say, oh, the document, bring it before we want to see what it is? No, they are fishing. The court is like the court is fishing.
Thank you, James.
Going after Alexander Cummings, bring your document, going after the party, bring the whatever committee that they set a report. Those reports are not the best evidence. Those are all hearsay documents they all want. The best document that the court should use to make a judgment is what is with the Election Commission. The date that document was filed, the date itself, the signatories, those are the documents the court is supposed to use to verify. But I feel that they all have missed a step. That's why the court is. That's why the case is dragging at the magisterial court.
Thank you.
Lastly, on what is the last issue we're talking about?
Ambassador. Koji and ambassador.
Yeah, the ambassador. The ambassador. We all have said it. We all have said it. And people learn, all right? Even myself here, I don't know every issue. Sometimes I just take my time to do extra reading. The young man at the Morovia City Court,
Corporation.
Yes, he is the leader during this time. He has a right to prove himself. When people make mistakes, you accept it. Sometimes, if I was in his shoe, I would have deliberately requested an audience with the ambassador. That would have been wrong, but that's administrative. Behind the scene, you can say, oh, Mr. Ambassador, I said A, B, C, D. Or you talk to your boss, talk to George, Mr. President. I think I make some utterances, and I think that was too, I went above board. How do we approach an ambassador? You know, or talk to the foreign minister. You should know, coaches should know that foreign minister should deal with the ambassador. call the Prime Minister, Minister, ABC team. I think I must say I went about both. How I cannot jeopardize the interest of Liberia and Liberians as a president. So let all of us get involved and see how we solve this thing. Is it late? No, it's not late. The embassy over there, they're not going to be talking, oh, Koji insulted, oh, he did, he didn't. All the people do, most of them get their pen and paper with them. They write reports. This report will live even after George Weah government is over. So we just caution these people, be careful. You can discuss the issues. You can disagree with the ambassador and do what they want to say. But when it comes to government affairs, they are channeled. And I think Koji missed that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you so very much. That was my guest, Mr. James and Jason, founder, CEO, and host at 2A Radio. That is the African Action Network. Folks, I will close this way. For me, I read politics. And I read strategic communication, if you like, journalism. There where I focus my reading. That's my interest. And the reason I chose those two paths is to be able to be part of the conversation. The Cummings side, they blew it. They came to be different. And they decided to do business with people that have dirty hands. You know, there's a saying that if you join in the mud where the pigs are playing, you will get your hands dirty. That is a simple lesson that they should have known all along. But they argue that, well, Liberia has so many people with dirty hands that are in the games, so we got to get there. I disagree. Liberia has more people with clean hands. You should have done business with the clean hands people. Even the folks that got dirty hands, they know clean hands are better. Needed to build a movement. But for them, they think, I can't win this argument. I can't win the argument? Where are you now? I think I'm winning the argument. But that's for another day. And then when it comes to the issue of the ambassador wrote an op-ed, put it in the newspaper. I believe so strongly he too, like Koji, could have communicated and used a much proper and better channel. But I recognize his right as a human being to speak wherever way he chooses. But in terms of diplomatic protocol, now because he's from America, is the almighty America that has money, and you're in a tiny country like Liberia, and so you can just talk and use any channel you feel that is proper because you are almighty America. Koji's approach was wrong. Koji's right to speak as a citizen, especially when he's been mentioned, is a right we must all recognize, and at the same time criticize him that it could have been done properly. That is my position. Now, when it comes to this issue of this guy called Casa, we are our own problem as a country. When you like somebody, you don't see wrong in him. Even if you see the wrong, you feel that because you love him, you need to prove a point that you love him. That is not love. That is sheer stupidity on your part. I'm talking about you who do that. I love Costa, so even if Costa insulting the president, I would say, well, the man are journalist, so he talks show, so he has the right to support, to insult the president or insult anybody. You're saying that because you love him. Will you say that if Koji insults somebody? No, you will not say that. This is where your stupidity is being exposed. We will build a nation on insults. The guy you think is so smart, he's insulting people, insulting women, calling them Hopo Joe, and you are a woman, and that doesn't bother you. Yet you support Costa. Yet this is how you love. I see why some parents Their children stealing and they're making excuses for the thievery their children carry on. This is the behavior you want to bring to this country. And some of us will be very bold. And sometimes if you think that we come across as arrogant, so be it. We are fighting for the soul of this country. It must be done with the truth, the fact, and we should speak boldly and fearlessly, because there's always a better way. And we should all fight for that better way. How dare you tell me insulting public officials is the way to hold them accountable? Is that the only way? That is not the only way, and you know that. I will stop this far, and thank you for watching us. Because if you're not here, we will not be here. But we have to be so truthful to ourselves. That's the best we can do. There is this thing called truth. It matters. The Bible says the truth will set you free. In the absence of the truth, there is no love. How do you lie to a girl that you love the girl and you're doing something different? That's why the girl gets pissed off and she dumps you. The truth is being violated. Love disappears. Do you love Liberia? How do you love Liberia? By treading on lies and deceits and insults? You are not the guy for Liberia. You can be that guy if you choose the truth, and the truth will set Liberia free. My name is Ansony. I don't apologize for my opinions. When I come with my little skills in the business of strategic communication embedded with the truth. I also come with my political eyes. I don't support politicians. I don't trust them. Never and ever you trust any of them in your life. We have to hold them accountable. And that is how they will be compelled to do the right thing, to worship them, to glorify them. Would be an attempt to encourage them to do wrong. People are worshiping we are, despite of the thievery that is going on in the government. And you are angry about that, but you support your political goal, who will not even allow a primary to go on in your political party, will pick just about anybody. Do you see yourself in this picture? Sorry, I'm painting it so graphical for you. That is what I do. That's my strength. I shouldn't make it be more because I know nothing. But I share with you my emptiness. Maybe when you put some cool air on it, you will see that something is in it. I love you all, and I have to go. There is a song we play here. It says, "We are all Liberians," and that song is taking us home. Brother James, the audience said they love you. You were very knowledgeable. I was reading the comments. Let's do this again. And thanks so much for the work you do at 2A Radio. And we will talk off air. Thank you, folks, and bye-bye. Enjoy the song, "We Are All Liberians."
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home.